Welcome back. The South African Social Security Agency, SASSA, says at least 6 million beneficiaries will receive their Covid-19 social relief of distress grants by the end of August. The agency kickstarted the first batch of the payments on Wednesday after the grant was reintroduced for the second phase of payouts last month. For more on this, let's now talk to the SASSA spokesperson, Paseka Letsatsi. Mr. Letsatsi, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Unati, and thanks for having us.
Now, I was going to start the conversation around, the beneficiary payouts, but something else has caught my attention. Now, we understand that some government officials tried to access this fund. Now, this fund is meant for the unemployed. Talk to me about this latest incident. Have people been arrested?
I think thanks for that question, Unati. We just want to clarify that these government officials who have an access to, it's not about an access to the 350 grant. It's actually on the social grant. You might have some of them getting child support grant and other sorts of grants. So we just want to separate, because the 350 grant for COVID-19 is something else. But those officials who have been identified have been having access to your normal SASSA grant. And I think what we have done, Unati, was because our systems recently is able to talk to other database. We have increased and improved our system. We are able, as we go forward, to identify people who are part of the system who are not actually supposed to be part of the system.
Now, in my introduction, Mr. Letsatsi, I said that you've already paid or earmarked to pay 6 million beneficiaries by the end of this month. So in light of this incident with the government officials who were trying to, access these fundings from the social grant, are you saying the 6 million are the unemployed? They are the rightful owners of this 350 rands?
We can safely say that as we speak now, we have more than 10 million people who have forwarded their application. We are busy processing them and make sure that we pay in batches. On Wednesday, when we started Unati, we forwarded about 6,000 people on the file. We improved on Thursday. It was about 250,000. And on Friday, which was yesterday, it improved to 750,000. What we intend, or what we actually want to do, is to make sure that by Tuesday at least we process or submit a file of about 2.5 million people. But as we speak as an organization, we can safely say from where we are currently, our system is watertight, and we think that people will not be able to go through the cracks and steal this money, because we, in terms of the system that we have now currently, is able to talk to other government departments. For an example, Unati, if you give us an ID number, we're able to bounce it with the Department of Home Affairs to check if you are indeed a South African citizen. If you give us the information, we also check with the banks, we also check with the UIF to make sure that you don't get another source of income. We also know that there are people who are in the NSFAS database. We make sure that we talk to NSFAS so that whatever that we do is able to make sure that people do not get access to those particular funds.
So talk to us about just the application process. So you are currently paying those whose applications have been successful. Talk to me about what makes an application successful, and what are the waiting times for this grant to then be made available to those recipients?
There are certain processes which we take beneficiaries through. For an example, when you make an application, you'll be requested or expected to submit your bank account. But secondly, you are expected to submit an authenticated ID number. And there are certain things that you are able to check to make sure that this particular amount of money goes directly to those who need it most. The intention is to make sure that, Unati, we do not necessarily have people who are making an application to get the money, and they get the money which is not due to them. So the situation or the system is such that it's watertight. We do not necessarily want to have people going through the cracks and so on. But in the process of asking some of the information, for an example, asking people to give us their account number, there are those people which we understand some of them don't have the account number, we are able to take them to the post office. But we just want to emphasize on this one, Unat, that if you go to the post office, do not go and inquire at the post office. You need to wait for us to be able to send an SMS to you to say you can go to the post office, because we are trying to avoid groups of people going to the post office, and it actually defeats the purpose of us fighting against the COVID-19.
Now, the first batch of monies that were released to those that are unemployed through this relief fund, I mean, we saw that system being abused, and a lot of people who were not meant to receive that money receive that money. What are some of the lessons that have been learned by your organization this time around in terms of the systems that you've introduced following the learnings that you've gotten from the first time that you released these funds?
Look, what makes me happy, Unat, is that it's been 16 days since we opened the system. We have more than 10 million people that we have received the application. It shows progress from our part. If you compare it from what happened last year, the numbers are very high. But secondly, the system is so quick such that when we bounce any information, we're able to get the response very quickly to verify if a person is eligible to get a grant and so on. But we are saying we are able to check, we verify, and we are able to communicate with the beneficiaries. We know that it has been difficult at some point, especially those who are getting the 350 last year. There are those who have not collected the 350 grant from SASSA. And on that one, the intention was to request them to come and get their 350, because if they don't do it before month end of August, unfortunately, the money is going to be taken back to the National Treasury. But from where we stand, Unat, we are extremely confident that the system would be able to make sure that the 350 only goes to those who deserve it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Letsatsi, this afternoon. SASSA spokesperson there, Paseka Letsatsi.